So hi everybody and welcome back to MIAC's Artist and Scholar Dialogue series where MIAC staff and curators are speaking with different artists and scholars about their work, the impact the pandemic has had on their practice, and just what they've been up to in the past year or so. My name is Lily McEnany and I am an assistant curator at the museum, and today we're going to be speaking with Dominique Toya, who is a completely fantastic potter from Jemez, Pueblo, known for her unique swirl design elements and use of micaceous slips. Before we start talking with Dominique, I'd like to briefly acknowledge the place where this conversation is happening in Ogopoge within the Tewa world. As a non-native person living in so-called Santa Fe, I am a guest in the ancestral homelands of the Tewa people, and I wish to acknowledge all of the native folks, Navajo, Apache, Pueblo, past, present, and future, who walk on these lands. So Dominique, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to be able to chat with you. So to kind of get us started, for the viewers who maybe don't know you, why don't we start with a brief introduction, who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Well, thank you for having me. And my name is Dominique Toya. I am from Jemez, Pueblo. I am the 5th generation of potters in my family, and my great-great-grandmother was from Zia, Pueblo, and she married a Jemez man. And she taught all her 5 daughters pottery, and that's how it started out. It just like zoomed out from there. So I have a little Zia blood in me, and I live here in Jemez, Pueblo. And like I said, I'm the 5th generation of potters in my family. And I specifically do micaceous pottery, but it's Jemez clay, and I use the micaceous slip. A lot of people think that I use the micaceous clay as well, but I actually use the Jemez clay, and the slip is the finish, and that's what I paint my pieces with after they're all done.
Fantastic, thank you. So you said that you're a 5th generation potter. Can you tell us a little bit about what growing up must have been like? I mean, can you talk a little bit about how you got to where you are today and kind of your artistic journey is one way to put it, I guess.
Right. Well, it's been a great journey for me personally, growing up in a pottery family and growing up around clay all my life. And like my mother we're talking about this the other day because we're talking about Indian market, and I'm literally a market baby. My mother started market when I was 3 years old, but my grandmother had already been doing it before, and her grandfather. So growing up in a pottery family has been amazing. Watching my grandmother work, watching my mother work, watching my aunt work, and my great-grandmother work. You know, the whole family was in pottery, and cousins. So it was just amazing watching growing up. And I think I made my first piece when I was like around 5 years old and sold that at the Santa Fe Indian market. And I've been doing pottery since. And then I even got as far as I was really working with my grandmother close, and she taught me how to make storage jars, she always told me one thing too. I always remember when I make a piece, always make the inside as beautiful as the outside, meaning always smooth the inside and make it beautiful as the outside. So that always stuck in my head. The other thing that she taught me was quality and not quantity. She always told me, make sure every piece has your undivided attention and make it beautiful, and don't worry about how many pieces you have, as long as you work on one at a time and make that one very, very beautiful. So I learned all that from my grandmother, and then I learned how to stone polish from my aunt Laura. And let's see what else. It's hard growing up in a pottery family because they had their own styles, and you kind of go to your like grandmother or mother like for guidance, but you don't want to copy them, or we don't want your work to be just like them. So I started venturing out on my own when in my teenage years, and I saw this article in a magazine, it was an ad for Gallery 10 back then. And one of the pieces I saw was Nancy Youngblood's work, one of her swirls. I was just like, wow, oh my God, I would love to do something like that. But I didn't want to copy her. and I didn't know how she did her pieces anyway, so I didn't want to copy her. But so she was my inspiration doing my swirl pots. And the way I do mine are, I start from the top and I kind of bring the line down a little at a time, and I go all the way around the pot where they're evenly apart. Then I bring the line a little further down and keep going down all the way around again until I get to the middle. Then I start bringing the line a little bit further more, and I kind of make it a curve and make it a swirl. So mine isn't the S like Nancy's, but mine's more like the swirl. So I taught myself how to do that. And each rib is done by eyeballing. I don't measure, I don't do anything. I just make sure they're evenly apart. So that's what started my journey as a potter. I used to polish them at first, the red and the beige. And then I got into my acacia slip later on in my life. And it's been like about maybe 15 years that I've been working with the micacia slip. And that's what I'm known for now. My seed pots, especially, if people see a seed pot and it's micacious and has a sharp ribs, they're like, that's a Dominique Toya piece. So that's my signature piece. But my journey has been great. I've won numerous awards, high awards, including Best of Class at the Santa Fe Indian Market, Best of Class at the Hurd Indian Market, and Best of Show with a collaboration I did with Jody Naranjo, who's from Santa Clara. And I've also worked with Nancy Youngblood, who is my inspiration and my icon. And I got to work with her, and we've got numerous awards together. And that in itself was a dream and a journey, working with your icon and one of the best potters that I know of today. So my life, it's been a great journey. My pottery, it's really taken me places. I've gotten to meet a lot of great people. It's in this country, other countries, and that's a great feeling, knowing that your pieces are making other people happy, that your creative side and your art, what you created, is making people happy in their homes, beautifying them.
Wow, thank you for sharing all of that. There's so many things I want to ask you about just based on that. But I mean, okay, so you sold your first pot at Indian Market at 5 years old. Can you tell us a little bit about that piece? What do you remember about making it?
Yeah, I remember it was a little orno or make our oven bread in. So I made the base flat, and then I built the orno part, coiled that part with the help from my grandmother and my mother, and painted it brown, and that was it. And I sold that piece.
Wow, that's incredible. That's very, very cool. And then, I mean, fast forward, you're growing up and you're looking at Nancy Youngblood's work, and now you've collaborated with her. Can you talk to me a little bit more in detail about what that has been like for you? I mean, it's kind of a dream come true, right?
Yes, it was a dream come true, and I've learned a lot from Nancy. When I won Best of Class at the Santa Fe Indian Market in 2009, she was at the award ceremony also because her youngest son, Joey, won an award too in the youth category. And so she was there, and she came up to me and she goes, "It's about time." I was like, wow. So I talked with her at our booth, because our booths are right next to each other. We had our booths, we've been sitting next to each other for like, 30 years maybe. And we never really got to know each other because they were like literally just like set up and they're gone. And so it's just finally I got to ask her one day, would you like to collaborate? And I finally got the nerve to ask her. I was so scared, and I was thinking, well, the worst thing she can say is no. So I finally just asked her, and when she said yes, I almost fell over. But it took another year for us to collaborate on a piece. We had lunch, got to know each other, and then she invited me to her home, and we started working on pieces, or we did a sketch of what we wanted to do. And our first piece, oh my gosh, it's amazing how it came out. And she is a very sweet lady, very knowledgeable woman. And her techniques and everything are just amazing because I got to see up front. I'll never tell anybody or say what I saw, but just letting you know that she's an amazing artist, potter. Mm-hmm. So when that happened and we collaborated on a few pieces, we really got to know each other and little became family. And that's what really touched me. That's what meant the world to me. The collaboration, everything, of course, it was an awesome experience, but getting to know her and becoming part of the family was awesome. It's just a great feeling, and I will always be grateful and thankful for everything that she taught me and helped me and tutored me on.
Wow, that sounds like kind of a once in a lifetime kind of relationship to be able to have.
It really is. It is.
So speaking of collaboration, I know you work a lot with your mother, Maxine Toya. I'd like to hear kind of about what that's been like for you as well.
Well, I've always wanted to work with my mother on a collaboration, and we did one years ago for the herd. I finally designed a water jar, and I wanted her to put the release of 5 ladies going around the pot. And we named it 5 Generations because the first one was my great-great-grandmother, Benina. The second one was my great-grandmother, Persingula, and then my grandmother, Marie, my mom, and myself. So we named it 5 Generations. So she did reliefs of women and their heads, excuse me, and it came out beautiful. We got a prize on it, and then we never did anything again. So a few years ago, I was wondering, okay, I want to collaborate with you again, Mom, but I don't know what you want to do or how you want to do this. So I thought about stuff, and I was like, oh my God, I know I can make a storage jar that Grandma showed me how to make, and you can paint I'll polish the top and the bottom, or put, and then you can design all the way around, because that's one of her things. She's a painter. She's a great painter, and when she's holding the pot, that's her canvas. She doesn't even pencil anything. She'll just get her brush and just start painting designs. And even her outlining, she'll just outline the top, the bottom, and just start painting, and her brush strokes. I've taken pictures, and I want to take a video sometime of her doing that because I don't want to lose that. I want to remember that as well, because it's watching her is such an honor to me. It's like, wow. So that's her canvas. The clay is her canvas. She's also a painter too. We have a couple of paintings in our home that she did years ago in 84 and 82. But it's just been a great journey working with her. And now we're going to do a couple collaborations for the Santa Fe Indian Market again. So I'm going to start working on those pieces. But working with your own mom and collaborating and creating something that what your part is and what her part is, that's what really makes it special, because people see and people know Dominique made the piece, she did the micro work, and Maxine did the painting. So people already know. So that's what even makes it more special.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. That just must be kind of incredible to watch her take your creation and kind of make it her own and add her own voice to it.
It really is. It really does.
Wow. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I read that big article on you and your mom in New Mexico Magazine, and that's why I'm asking about it, because I thought that was such a lovely article and really captured your guys' relationship.
Yeah, and we have a workshop once a year. Last year we didn't have it because of the pandemic, but we have a workshop once a year, and we start in the morning. We have a little coffee and stuff waiting for the people that take the workshop, and it's a whole day workshop, all day workshop. And then we have we talk about our family history. Then you help me mix clay. Then you make something. Then it's lunchtime. Then we feed you a Jemez feast with Jemez enchiladas, red chili, oven bread, all the feast foods. Then 1 o'clock comes and we have medallions made for you. And then Mom takes over that part. Then she shows you how to sand on both sides. And then she shows you how to paint. Then you paint your own medallion. And then about 2 o'clock, we set up for the firing, and we fire those medallions that you take home with you, and I'll fire a couple of my own pieces.
Wow, it's a pretty sweet deal.
So hopefully we'll have it maybe the first Saturday in September this year.
Yeah, cool. Wow. Wow. So I know you talked a little bit about your creative process in terms of how you make the swirl pots and the micacia slip. Can you kind of, and you also mentioned that you combine the micacia slip with the Jemez clay. Can you just kind of talk a little bit more about the dynamic between those two materials that you're working with?
Right. Okay. So we process our own clay, and we dig our own clay here in Jemez. We have 2 clay sites, and then we also have where we dig up our temper, which is a volcanic ash here, right here on our Pueblo. So we gather those two materials. We clean the clay, we clean the temper, and then we mix them together. There's my clay. So what I'll do is I will create a piece depending on what it's going to be, and I use the coil method, which is where I make a coil and then I pinch it all the way around and I start making the pot. Once I've made the pot, if I'm going to swirl it, or if I'm going to partly swirl it or partially swirl it, or just leave it plain, because sometimes Mom and I collaborate on just plain pieces where I'll just make a seed pot and then I'll let it dry. Then I'll sand the piece to make sure all the especially when I'm doing the ribs, the swirls, to make sure they have that sharp swirl to it. Then I have my micacia slip that's like a paint. It's a clay slip, and that I get from up north, and that is the hardest thing to clean because it's like a rock form. It's like the micacia slip is literally like a rock, and you have to pound it. Then I sift that and take out all the impurities, like the leaves, the all the little rocks, everything. So then I put in water, and then I use that on my pieces with a paintbrush, and I put it all the way around. Years ago, when I started using my micacia slip, no one taught me how to use it. That's another thing I had to learn on my own. Wow. I kept applying coat after coat after coat. I didn't realize that my mica was such a heavy clay slip that it literally went right into the pot and cracked it open. And I was like, wow. So after that, I learned after each coat that I apply, I have to let it completely dry before I apply the next coat. So that's a long process as well. So especially the large ones, yeah. Those take days.
Big aha moment to have.
So I learned how to use the micacia slip on my own as well.
Cool. And, I love when you're talking about your work, you use swirl as a verb, like if I'm going to swirl it, or I love that. I just think that's such a wonderful way to talk about your work, and just kind of gives it a lot of life.
Well, the other thing that I do as well, because my grandmother also taught me that clay is alive, that Mother Earth is alive, and clay woman is alive. Mm-hmm. So when I'm on Facebook or talking about a piece to a collector, I always call my pieces her or she. She's ready to fire. She's ready to get to apply the mica. Here she is. I mean, that's just to me, because to me she's a part of me. We were together, and like I said, my grandmother taught us to respect the clay, Mother Earth, and if you respect it, you'll have good karma, and good pieces will come from that.
That's lovely. Thank you for sharing that too. So kind of switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about the past year and ask you how the pandemic has changed the way you work, or the way you think about your work, or the way that you sell your work.
When the pandemic first hit last year, around March, I kind of got scared because I got into relying on the gallery that I sold to, a couple of the galleries, because they did my advertising, they sold the pieces, and they did literally everything, pictures, all that, ads, everything. So all I did was just take it in and they did the rest. After March, I kind of got freaked out and scared at the same time. I was wondering, it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Or am I going to be able to sell my pieces? Because I'm a full-time potter. You know, this is my life. This is my livelihood. And I did an experiment on Facebook. I did a Facebook Live of me making a pot. And by the end of the day, I had 1,500 views. And I was like, wow. And somebody that watched me make that piece, and I've done this at demonstrations before the pandemic. If I do demonstrations, I'll notice somebody will watch me make the whole piece or the entire piece. And by the time I'm done making the piece, they'll come up and say, I want to buy that one when you're done with it. So that's what happened when I did the Facebook Live. Somebody texted me and said, when that piece you're working on, that or the one you made earlier, when it comes out, can I buy that? I'm like, sure, thank you. Well, Mom and I started doing firings also, Facebook Live firings, where we would just talk about our family, our art, our styles, what we do, just about literally anything and everything, especially last year, telling people, keep your head up, stay strong, we'll get through this, or we're in this all together. I mean, it was more, I guess, of being positive and showing people that, we're doing good, even though it was hard at times because we've been on lockdown since March of last year. Our tribe, we got a little leeway now, but still, it really affects you mentally and physically. So I think that's one of the reasons why we started doing the lives, to kind of help ourselves out as well. And that really, truly helped. And it really launched our sales. And to this day, I will always be thankful and grateful to all the people last year, even now, that are still buying our pieces and helping us and getting us through this pandemic. Without them, I don't know. Well, I know my mother, I would probably be she'll be helping me out because she's a retired teacher as well. So she has other income coming in, but still, we were so blessed. And every time we did a Facebook Live, we would thank everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for helping us. And after that experience, I truly had more respect for gallery owners or people that sell pottery online, because I had to get one of those light boxes, 2 of them, a larger one and a smaller one, to start taking pictures of my own work. Then you have to advertise a lot. If you don't sell a piece right away, it takes sometimes 2-3 times to put it online until it sells. And then talking about your work and literally like being on there all the time, exposing your work and just trying to get your work out there. Even though my family's already known and all that, it doesn't matter. You always have to do advertising, or you always have to promote yourself. And that's what I really, truly respect gallery owners and online sellers a lot more now, because of the experience that I went through during the pandemic, and I had to do what they did for me.
Yeah. I mean, it just must be incredibly draining to not only have to worry about making your pieces and having your inventory, but also doing the promotion and the advertising and the social media and the Facebook. I mean, it's like having a second job almost, right?
It really is. It really is, because I'm not only on Facebook, I'm also on Instagram, and it just like, sometimes I forget to put on Instagram. I'm like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
So it literally is a job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stressful at times because you're tired, especially after firing. But at the same time, you told your audience, you told your collectors that you're gonna post it in a little bit after it cools down. So I'll be like, okay, let me take a little rest, let it cool down, take my light box out, start taking pictures. And by that night, I'm like done.
Right. And taking photographs of your pieces is like another art form too.
It really is.
Well, yeah.
It really is. And I've gotten some pointers from other people which I still need to really look at as well, as far as getting the right lighting as well. I still need to get some more lighting, but that's the hard part because I work from my home. So that means I have to put in all the lighting in the living room where my light box is, take everything down, put it in my room. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're all wondering, I mean, Swaya announced yesterday that they are going to be doing an in-person market, but I think they're still going to be doing some online components too. And I think we've all just become very consumed with living online and living with technology. So I guess I'm wondering, given everything that's been going on for over the past year plus, where do you see the field of Native art moving as a result of all of these intense changes that we've all dealt with?
Personally, and in my opinion, I feel that there's still going to be art shows. And of course, people want that connection. People want the connection with the potter or the artist. People want connection with that art. Sometimes you really can't see a piece online as much as you would in person. You can't feel it, you can't touch it, until if you actually buy it, until you get it. You might be disappointed. Who knows? But personally, I think people like art shows, live art shows better than online because of that feeling, that connection. And then saying like, oh my God, I went to Santa Fe Indian Market. I was in Santa Fe for this week. I bought a piece from Dominique or Maxine or their collaboration, or I bought a piece from this artist and that artist. I got to meet this person. So I think, me personally, I prefer those art shows. It was hard doing them online. I really didn't do that great last year at the Indian Market. I don't have like about 3 or 4 pieces, and I only sold 1 miniature. But what got us through was, like I said, throughout the whole summer, we were very blessed and thankful. And it was hard for me to navigate how to put up my stuff throughout the whole month, because it was a whole month. It wasn't just the weekend. And that was the hardest part. And because I'm not really savvy as well, I just pretty much know the basics, how to get by. So I personally like the art shows better, the live art shows. And I'm thankful and grateful they're having it. And from what I understand, I'm not, I used to be on the Santa Fe Indie Market board. I just turned off this past October. So I really don't know what's going on anymore. While we're talking, I saw on my iPad, there's an alert, or I just got an email from Santa Fe Indian Market. So I'll look at that after we're done.
You want to do a live reading? But you're so right.
But it's that connection. It's that talking to the person, talking to the collector, either old or new, and letting them know the process, how you did it, have them feel it. Because sometimes when you feel a piece of art, it's yours.
And I think it's so important, like you said, the experience of buying and just having that relationship with the artist. And you don't get that from clicking buy online,
No.
I think you're right. Sometimes when you just touch something, like I remember like certain pieces that I've touched before, just like feeling the inside of the rim, and you just like your heart starts to beat a little bit, Yeah, I think that's really something that people are missing. And so fingers crossed for a great August. I think it will be so interesting to see what everybody's been working on in the past year. I think we're going to get to see some really remarkable pieces.
I think so too. I really think so too.
Okay, so I think that's a great place to stop, unless there's anything else that you'd like to talk to MIAC audiences about.
Probably just to thank them for all the support and everything they have done for Indian art, and helping support us Native Americans, and just thankful that there's a great audience out there for us, and we truly appreciate that. And we're very blessed to have you all in our lives.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much, Dominique, for joining us.
Sure.